rear caps off and have a look what's inside. Ooh, there is glass. Yeah, like...
That is the optical design. Yeah. There's glass in it.
Nikkor Z 7200 2.8S lens was announced last year, and we got it by the end of the year, and finally we have a sample that we can actually review ourselves. Yeah. So what are our thoughts, Becky?
Well, 70 to 200, as you know, for me isn't a focal length that I use or like very much unless I'm doing specific events or weddings that need that focal length. Mm-hmm. But it's not a day-to-day lens for most people, but it's definitely not a day-to-day lens for me. So I put it on my Z6. I found it to be a little bit short, actually, for what I was trying to do, which was mainly bird photography, going out into the wilderness of West Sussex and trying to see what I could take pictures of. So I put it on the Z50, just because I wanted that extra DX crop.
Okay.
I couldn't fault the autofocus on the Z50, but to be honest, I wasn't sure if that was down to the camera or the lens, because the Z50 itself is not the fastest camera for autofocus. You kind of have to know what you're doing.
But it coped really well, as you say.
It did cope very well, but overall, for me, it's a little bit too big and heavy for what I would need if I was going to be doing an event or wedding and stuff. It's a must-have to go along with the 24-70 and the 14-24.
I absolutely agree with you. Again, for something like a walk-around lens, I probably wouldn't use it, but as a professional lens, again, this is a fantastic choice. I would add sports events, especially indoors, once we can do that. It's definitely a good use. For portrait work, the rendering, the out-focus areas rendering is really good. So it gets it sharp, it renders beautifully, very neutral, not oversaturated, which I really liked. And autofocus is really fast. In my opinion, we should film a second review, an updated version of the review, once we get Z9 in, because I think that at the moment, the focusing speed of this lens is actually limited by the camera, but not lens itself.
That's a good point, and we will aim to do that, hopefully. One thing that I would like to point out is that this is the first telephoto offering from Nikon. We haven't had any lenses that go beyond 85mm actually up until this one. So if this is a sign of things to come, then I'm quite pleased with it, particularly because it is, I would say, better optically over the F-mount version. The focusing is almost instantaneous with predictable subjects. It's also the only lens that currently works with the teleconverters for the Z system. So
you've got two teleconverters out, the TC14 and TC20.
Yeah, exactly. And those currently don't work with any other Z lens. So it gives this lens a little bit of a chance to shine, because 200 is quite short for a lot of people. And having that extra reach, one of the reasons why I put it on the Z50, just makes that whole world of difference when you're taking pictures of small subjects at long distances.
I absolutely agree. And speaking of autofocus, I autofocus on Z6 and Z6 Mark II with the new firmware. This lens definitely performed better on the 6 Mark II with the new firmware.
That's good. See, I haven't tried that one yet, so
here we go.
I didn't know.
Yeah, all eye recognition, the face recognition, the eyebrows, the teeth, the nose everything worked beautifully. In most cases, for general subject going from left to right, no problem whatsoever. With a subject running towards you, and in my case it was a puppy running towards me, but you could be on a catwalk, some fashion show. As long as the subject's moving reasonably fast, it should be okay. As soon as moving really, really fast, rapidly towards you, it will struggle a little bit, so you may miss some shots, but that's on Z6 cameras. How Z9 will perform, we don't know.
No, exactly. I was going to say that's definitely down to the camera. We've tried the fastest prime lenses in the Z range in the same scenarios and found the same results. So if you are shooting fast-moving subjects coming towards you, firmware updates will help, but the new AF systems that we're hoping to see very soon will also be a helping hand for you. Now, just to talk about the specifications, the lens has these function buttons, which a lot of the 70 to 200, the new 70 to 200 VR and the FL has it. So if you're used to using these buttons either to recall your autofocus or as your AF on, so your autofocus before you take the picture, then it's nice to have those there. It features the optical LED display window that we're starting to see on all of the more expensive professional Nikkor Z lenses. This display can be changed to show you different information like your focusing scale or your aperture readout. It also has that customizable ring, which a lot of people use as an aperture control ring, and it has 2 function buttons on the side as well, so plenty of customization. What would you say about the build quality?
I think the build quality is as good as their top offerings, where the ceilings is pretty much the same. In terms of this, no problem whatsoever. We all know Nikon for good build quality, so this one basically continues the trend.
Exactly. The only sad thing is, of course, we've got that original tripod foot. One day, maybe, probably never, we'll see an Arca Swiss style tripod foot.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
One day. But until then, we have to put up with buying either a replacement foot or putting an Arca Swiss plate on here for our quick release tripods. Such is life.
If you're a professional photographer and you just switch to Z system, this is the one of 3 of Holy Trinity that you must have. It gives you fantastic image quality, really fast autofocus, and which will improve with the new cameras. And also, it priced reasonably for this type of lens.
Exactly. I will say that if you are not a professional photographer, obviously this is the only offering at the moment, but Nikon usually provide pro lenses before they do the amateur range for the simple reason that we have working professional photographers who need to make their money out of their kit.
So you think something like 70-200 f4 or maybe 70-300 VR with variable aperture probably somewhere in the pipeline, and we'll see it soon.
Exactly. So if you are not desperate for that longer focal length yet, and you don't necessarily want to part with the slightly over £2,000 price mark that this is at the moment, and you can wait, then there may be another lens coming in the future which would suit your needs. I certainly know that I would prefer something smaller and lighter that has a longer range. I don't need f2.8 personally. No. With the rendering that you get from the Z sensors on any Z lens, I think that an f4 version to complement my little 24-70 f4 would be a nice setup.
Absolutely, and then obviously the longer you go, the depth of field is going to be compressed a little bit more, so it's going to be a little bit more blurred anyway. So exactly. For most people, f4 would do the job.
Exactly, but until then we have this one, and I think we're both delighted with it.
Absolutely. If you like this video and you want more content like this, hit that like and subscribe button below.
Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you for another review very soon.